Welcome to another episode of Allie Explains It All. Today we're going to talk about going from being a tactical event manager to focusing on those more strategic and high value activities. As you can see here, we have a bunch of different weights, but they all have different values. If I'm going to lift the really heavy weight, I'll probably get a lot stronger, versus if I lift this light weight, it's going to take me a lot longer to achieve those goals. And similarly, event managers have a lot of tasks in front of them, but they also have different values. So if I just try to chunk off all of these really light tasks because I'm looking for those check boxes, I'm not going to get as much value and get as much done if I start to lift those heavy tasks. When I first started my career, all tasks appeared the same. It was just more about the volume of checking them off. And then as I got more time and experience under my belt, I realized that there are a lot of core things that I needed to know and that I needed to work out before just addressing those tasks. So I go back to always being the one with all the questions. So asking those questions. Ask if you don't know, ask for goals and objectives, ask for those strategies, and continually work with your leadership team, with other business units to really get that information and understand it. Because if you have that perspective of the company goals and objectives, it's really going to help you look at your task list and understand which of these are the important ones. But you really have to have that perspective of not just from your own world and your heads down and what you need to do, because that's going to be a very different task list and very different goals than if you're trying to look at above that between all the different departments as well as your company. So oftentimes innovation can help us when we think about low value tasks or high value tasks. For example, I was leading a really large team of vendors, about 80 different companies. And the old way of doing things was that every week we would get on the phone for 2 hours a week and basically round robin where no one paid attention. They were all online, so they were multitasking. Most of the times I would call on people and I'd have to call on them 5 and 6 times because they were doing other things. So after a year of that, I looked at it and thought, okay, this is a low value task. No one is paying attention. We're not actually achieving anything. And we're definitely not engaging and working on those hard things that we need to work out. So as an alternative, we said, how can we turn that low value task into a super high value task? So we transformed and we said, instead of weekly meetings, we're now gonna have one monthly meeting that's 5 hours. It is laptops down, no cell phones, and it's basically our way of engaging. And it's not just a report out, but it's also hot topics. It's things that we're collaborating on. It's the big, tough conversations that didn't actually happen last year because we were so tied up in that low value task that we didn't make time for those other things. So you really have to think about innovation and identifying what are the things that you're doing that really don't matter and how can you change and innovate them to get to the things that do. I think as an event manager, as you start to learn to prioritize, you become a lot more valuable to the organization, because instead of just being the person that checks off all the boxes and the tasks, you're the person leading the ship of being the evangelist for your company of this is what we're accomplishing for our events. These are the strategic initiatives. This is how we're doing on those. And it changes the conversation from just a tactical percentage of things completed to more of that strategic value of this is how I am amazing at my job and I am a rock star because these high level things are happening and they're happening right. Because no leadership team, no boss wants to just be brought a checklist, because anyone can bring a checklist. The real value that you can bring is by showing how your thinking and your ability to change your environment and focus on those strategic goals and objectives is helping the company move forward. And that makes you an incredibly valuable member of that team. Thanks for joining us today on another episode of Allie Explains It All. I hope this helped you to understand how continuing to lift those heavy weights will help bring value to you as a person and to your organization. I look forward to chatting again next time.